Okay, could you, since you're standing right there, introduce yourself?
Oh, right.
Yeah.
I'm Ulysses Vasquez. I'm the Neighbors Program Director at Stanislaus County.
Awesome, thank you.
But now I get to choose.
Yep. Jolene, we're gonna come back to you, George.
George Isaac, I'm Director of Sales for Repsco.
Thank you,
Jeff Olson with Nestle. We make carnation milk here in Modesto.
thank you.
And I'm Shannon Silva. I'm with Stanislaus Council of Governments. Thank you for being here, Laura.
Okay, Jolene, I'm gonna kick it to you and then you can introduce our speaker.
My name is Jolene. I am from American Recycling. Today we have Laura Cisneros at Love to Ride. We meet every third Thursday of the month. So if you guys would like to bring a friend, bring a colleague, bring a stranger, somebody to join us. Yeah, Laura, did you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. So my name is Laura Cisneros, and I am Region Manager for the Americas for Love to Ride. As you guys know, we work with governments around the world to induce mode change by using behavior change programs and some fancy technology to get them to start riding the bike and then continue to ride a bike for transportation. Yeah, so that's me.
And we'd like to thank you guys for sponsoring lunch today. Greatly appreciated. We've never had someone sponsor and be the one who is virtual. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. So how would you like to begin today? I'm not sure who's driving on the deck. I did send a presentation in. I'm happy to drive on my side, but if you guys have the controls there, that's fine too.
Jolene's gonna screen share. You missed the screen share button first. Bianca, while she's getting the PowerPoint up, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, good afternoon. My name is Bianca Lopez. I'm co-founder of Valley Improvement Projects for Social and Environmental Justice. Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Now I did just send a new deck. Will you scroll down for me, please? All the way to the very end. Yes, perfect. This is it. That's great. Thank you so much. I do want to start down at slide 10, if you would.
Jolene, click enable editing, and then you can take it into the presentation mode. There you go. You're there. Now scroll down to 10 for her. And then
Right there. That's perfect. That's perfect. Right there. That's great.
Spotlight.
And I will run through these relatively quickly. If I talk too fast, please just tell me. I have a habit of doing that. Half with Hispanic makes for a fast talker. So obviously we are a biking encouragement platform. And at this point, what we are is basically looking down the road to the future of biking transportation. And this is specifically relating to the new technology that we just recently launched. And we've got a wider launch, which is one of the reasons I'm here in Washington, D.C., talking to representatives and senators about the technology and Make Every Ride Count, which we'll speak about in a minute. Next slide, please.
You have to click that over there. Next slide. You know.
Awesome. So as you guys know, we come in with kind of a soup to nuts program, which basically is a virtuous cycle, if you will, from biking encouragement to biking behavior change and mode shift, and all the programmatic pieces that go around that. And then of course, all of the riding that takes place on the platform then becomes data, which then our city and regional and statewide partners can use to help them design and create safer and better and more efficient multimodal infrastructure. Next slide, please. So as you know, or if you don't know, I'm going to tell you right now, Love to Ride for the last 3 years has been working on technology that features machine learning and super fancy algorithms to determine when you are riding a bike. This app is automatic. You set it and forget it. So this ensures there's absolutely no friction in getting people to log their rides so that city planners can have the accurate information and calculate exactly how many rides are taking place in their communities. As a caveat, I'd like to just talk about for a moment a test that we're doing in a market, a small island off of the UK called Jersey. It's a very contained program there, obviously with an island. We've been in that market for 2 years. And in year one, they were solely using Strava. We use them as a test market for this very reason. We launched a year ago the Love to Ride app on iOS on the island, and we collected an astonishing 18.9% not percent times more biking data. Much of that data under 6 miles, which is really what we're talking about when we're talking about people using their bikes for utilitarian purposes. And as an aside, I can add that on the Love to Ride platform for Stanislaus, 30% of your rides are A to B. That's a huge number of people in your community that are using bikes to get to and from a place of work or for transportation. Next slide, please. One back.
Hit your back arrow on your keyboard.
There you go.
Oh,
So
good.
one of the things, of course, that makes that possible is because the app has this automatic mode detection. Automatic mode detection means that we have established the technology and the code using various features that already exist within Android or within iOS formats that allow us to understand how people are moving in space. It's very complicated, but suffice it to say, on iOS, we are now at 99% accuracy in mode detection. For this year, we'll only concern ourselves with biking modes, but next year we are collecting data on all modes of transportation individuals are taking. And next year we'll be launching another dashboard that will actually show how people's mode choice has changed over time. Next slide, please. So all the benefits, these are benefits to the users. From the folks that generally use Strava, we offer a lot of the same stuff. There are streaks, there are groups that you can create. You can have your own biking club. You can even sync with Strava using the Love to Ride app. You can also have heat maps and you can earn prizes or rewards and incentives. So very similar, and it also works very neatly and syncs very neatly with TDM programs like Agile Mile, for example. And next slide, please. So the data that we collect, next slide, please, ends up in dashboards on the administrative side of the site. As business owners, each of you would have your own profile on the Love to Ride platform, which means under Stannis Cruise, think about Love to Ride as kind of a nesting dolls situation. So you have the parent site, which is Stannis Cruise, and then each one of you as businesses have your own business profile. And in that profile, you have the opportunity to look at the data from your employees as they participate in these programs. Data like carbon mitigation, for example, or percentage of people participating by department. All of these things can be wrapped into your benefits programs or into your sustainability programs. Next slide, please. So when we talk about maps, one of the things that is groundbreaking in the work that we're doing right now, and I can only say that confidently, without hyperbole, because I've talked to over 200 planners at the state and regional levels for the last 4 months. And all of them believe that what we are doing at this point and what will happen in the next 8 to 12 months is just revolutionary. And what's happening, next slide, please, is that all the data that we collect from people and communities just like yours rolls up into these aggregate, anonymized, crowdsourced maps. These maps are what planners use to understand network volume so that they can make decisions about how to roll out new biking infrastructure. And when we talk about biking infrastructure, I think it's really important to point out that people on bikes stop more frequently in economic districts and spend more money than people in cars. Cyclists are good for local economies. There's consistently tug of wars about parking spaces and bike lanes and whatnot, but the economic data really is in. And if anybody would like to see any of those research papers, I'd be happy to provide them for you. But the other thing that these heat maps do, next slide, please, is allow for planners to start looking at what we call vulnerable road users. Now, to the legislation, to federal legislation, vulnerable road users are those that are either on two wheels or walking. And then within even those classes are even more vulnerable folks. Like think about elderly people walking, disabled people walking, or also think about mothers riding with their children to take them to school, or people of color who may not have high visibility bikes and also have traditional problems in terms of being underrepresented in our biking infrastructure and infrastructure in general. So all of this data is collated, and then planners will be able to filter by time of day, filter by day. If they want to know where people women between 45 and 55 are riding their bikes. Next slide, please. Or where people, and go ahead and go to the next slide. Or where people, women between 45 and 55 feel really uncomfortable on our biking networks. This allows planners, as you see with the red here, 37% of all riders feel uncomfortable on this particular piece of infrastructure. It gives planners a tool to use to prioritize this development. And for employers really trying to induce a modal shift or alternative transportation, this is important because you want your employees to feel safe riding on your streets on the way to your office. So all of this stuff, all of the results of this kind of crowdsourced data really goes to enhancing community living, making cities more livable, and also making alternative transportation choices possible. Next slide, please. So I've run through this. You can just tap them all. We just talked about it. And now we can go up to the start. And before then, if you'll stop the screen share, I'd like to take questions on this portion of the conversation before we move on.
Oh, the red button down below, stop. There you go. Any questions so far?
I have a question. I mean, if this is about the right time. I want to ask about opt-in, opt-out. Do you envision a situation where some people would like to have their data collected and others wouldn't? And would it be a situation of some people would opt in for this data collection, some wouldn't? Or is it a situation? Yes. Okay, it's in our regulatory situation.
Yeah, for sure. And we've done a couple of things, updates on the app, and like any technology, it'll continue to have V1, V2, V3. We'll continue to roll out new features that allow for more choice. And we have allowed for people to stop the tracking. So it doesn't have to be always tracking. We've had people also just declare that they don't want their data as part of the data set. All of those things have been enabled, and our team is pretty nimble. So if we have specific situations around data capture that arise, we're able to respond pretty quickly. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions?
Yes, one more.
Hi, Laura. Quick question. You've mentioned Strava a few times. Is this something that would be this app that you have similar to Strava in the fact that it's actually collecting data in terms of physical fitness and things like that? Or is this purely on making the streets safer? How does the two differ?
Yeah, so that's a really great question. And it does point to the direction of where we're going. We are not a direct competitor to Strava. Strava is an athlete focused tool. They do provide data, but by and large, that data is certainly focused on people that are going, as our data suggests already in our test market, is that those riders are riding and turning on Strava after 10 miles. whereas as municipalities, we're really concerned with under 6. But we do see a future where we will do things like route suggestions and things like that. We could ultimately, we'll be able to, because we're a behavior change platform, we'll be able to create personas based on athlete persona or some population persona. So we might be looking at women between 35 and 45, new rider. These are the ways that they get from point A to point B, and share those as route suggestions based on who these people are. And I'm sorry, was there another part of your question I didn't address?
I think that was it. I think that was it.
Yeah, but definitely the direction we're going is to use this route information, this collective groupthink, and then share it so that the best ideas are available to everyone. So where seasoned riders that ride commuting or commute ride more frequently may have the best routes to share with other folks. So we see that as part of our product development plan.
Perfect. Thank you.
So I'd like to make a comment more than a question. And if I have a persona, it's the old goat persona. And, so I appreciate what you're doing because I signed up for your, I didn't sign up for your app, but I've used your computer program because Cruz Stanislaus occasionally encourages, I guess they would love us to enter in the data every day, but that's inconvenient. Of course, now that we have this app, that would be great. But I've entered the data in manually when they've had an incentive to do so. So I think doing is really good. And interestingly enough, on the issue of bicycle routes, when I go into, I would go into Google to try to figure out how far my route was so I could enter the information in your program. And often it was not giving a very good route. And so I think the fact that your app will allow actual users to show, for instance, in the Modesto, there are a number of small bridges over the house. They create really good bicycle routes because you've got these quiet streets that a car can't go down because there's a canal blocking the way, but there's a pedestrian bridge. Oh, cool. And you can cross it. And apparently Google doesn't know this. Sure.
What I love about that is that translates into exactly the kind of real world experience that we want to share. Excuse me. But that's the real world experience we want to share. And that kind of crowdsourced knowledge. Hey, did you know you can actually get to Target using the 3rd Street pedestrian bridge or whatever it might be? That stuff is important. It's impactful. It can change a ride that maybe is 3 minutes shorter to maybe 3 minutes longer, but super pleasant. And that reinforces the possibility of me continuing to ride my bike. That stuff is so important. And that's our ambition, is to kind of, the Love to Ride is a community as much as anything. And we believe in the community mind share and being able to share things exactly like that. Any other questions on the technology? If not, we can, okay, cool. We can go back into that deck and we can go to the first slide and run through what's happening for Bike Month this year. Yeah, and we don't need to touch on this. We've already talked, I've already spoke to it. I mean, we do a lot of work around the world, period. All right, so what's coming for 2024? So this year is a special year. One of the reasons I'm in Washington, D.C. is because we are announcing, or announced yesterday, or this morning actually, Make Every Ride Count. And Make Every Ride Count is an initiative that's enabled by our new technology. Our new technology is so different than what's out there. A, because it automatically tracks, and B, because it has a comfort comfort rating standard that is designed to the LTS standard. This is a transportation standard that measures levels of stress. So at the terminus of every ride, folks will get a pop-up that says, hey, do you want to make biking better in Stanislaus County? And people will say, yeah. And all they have to do is very simply rate their route. Next slide, please. I think we'll see. Yeah. So all they have to do is actually fingerprint. They'll get a pop-up of the map, the route that they just rode, and they'll very, very simply just paint with the color associated with the amount of stress they felt on that network. And it's important to note here, they can zoom in to 10 meters. So it's fairly precise. Again, the aggregate data is sent up into the platform where planners can use this data to ingest in their own GIS information. If I'm getting too technical, that's just planners using this to mush it up with their own data so that they can actually see where the problems in the infrastructure are. And as I mentioned previously, this data can be filtered by demographic contours. Super important when we're really designing to the most vulnerable of the most vulnerable. So Make Every Ride Count will run concurrent to Bike Month. Basically, the language around it is, this Bike Month, make every ride count. So it is a galvanizing national effort that will be happening across the country. Next slide, please. For businesses, this is basically your workplace profile page. I'm not sure how many of you have already set up an account on Love to Ride. If you have not, I will give you 5 minutes to do that at the end of our talk. Please go forth and set up your account. Give your employees the opportunity to experience what a supported bike campaign feels like. Once people set up their profiles for your company, or once an individual sets up the company profile, when an employee goes to register on Love to Ride, it will auto-populate that business. For example, Southampton City Council. Then the organization can set up departments, so you can have marketing versus engineering, or sales versus engineering, or anyone in versus engineering for all of you who are in manufacturing. And in addition to that, you have the ability to set a company-wide goal. It's just a great tool for keeping people engaged all year round, as the platform license is for a year, and your web workplace profile page stays up year round. Next slide, please. Yeah, so basically the prize format or the points format is the same. Ride anywhere, anytime. Encouragers get a lot of points. So for one new rider, one person who has not been riding, those people that encourage them get 100 points. It's a real great way to advance on the leaderboard, but it's also the gamification piece. It's important to getting more people in your community riding and experiencing all the benefits, including health benefits. One single heart attack ER visit is $275,000, and that's an average across the country. So you can imagine it's higher than that. Love to Ride programs are not, they're a fraction of that cost. And just by getting people involved in these programs, we reduce those healthcare costs, which of course translate into savings on the insurance side. Next slide, please. You have loads of assets and prizes. These assets have been shared with our good friends over at StanCog. Those assets are then sent out to you guys for use in your internal marketing, and then of course to share with other companies who are not in the chamber or were not at this meeting today, to get them to promote the company, to promote Bike Month internally. Next slide. So it looks like we've got a $1,000 early bird registration prize and a $2,500 grand prize. Those might be national. I think these are national prizes. I do know that you all have traditionally, I see a typo on my screen. I don't like that. You all have traditionally also had your own local prizes, and I expect to see that as well again. Next slide, please. So next up, y'all giddy up, as we say down in Texas, and get yourselves registered on the platform. This is a free amenity made available to you by the county. You should be using this for your employees. Your employees will love it. It is a free way for you to create employee engagement. There's nothing better than free and employee engagement. Average spend on employee engagement programs are anywhere between 87 and whatever the limit is up in in tech companies per person per year. So this is free. This is available to you. You should be using it and promoting it. There is not a single person who hasn't joined a Love to Ride Bike Challenge who has walked away feeling unhappy that they did it. So give them the opportunity, show some leadership, and register your organization. And with that, I'll take questions.
You can also stop sharing and then go back to the gallery view, and you can unspotlight her. Remove spotlights in her top left.
Sorry, your mouse is just on next to the green check.
Go to your right, to your right, straight over to your right. Not quite that far. One box right there. There we go. Hi, Gavin. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, everyone.
Why don't you tell them who you are? We have a couple new people in the room.
Yeah, Gavin Klein, and I'm with the Office of Congressman John Duarte.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, lovely.
Congressman who?
John Duarte.
John Duarte.
I should have stopped by his office while I was on the Hill yesterday.
Nobody have any questions?
Wow, you're good. I love the longer you talk, the more your Texas came out.
You know what? It always is the case. I start out flat and then I start twanging. God help me if I had tequila in front of me, then it would be a real different story. Okay, now I'm going to keep you honest. How many of y'all have got a platform set or a profile set up for your company? Raise your hand. I'm only seeing half the room, so only half of you get busted. All right, y'all.
Not on the app, but on the computer phone.
Y'all get your company signed up. This is for your employees. Do right by them. They will love it. It is free. It's available to them. It's good for them. It reduces healthcare costs. And it's fun. I mean, we don't have enough fun in this world. It's fun. And if any of y'all need help, I'm going to take names here at the end of the call, and I'll just follow up with a phone call or a friendly visit. So get registered.
John was going to share some comments. Go ahead, John.
Well, I'm just going to say that I actually won a prize. Because small company category, I was the only guy at my small company that was bicycling to work every day, but that was enough for me to win the countywide competition. And I got a Yeti coffee, insulated coffee cup. So that was a very nice gift with the Stanislaus logo on it. So
those things are expensive and bought for. So yes, well deserved. So it sounds like the bar has been set, you guys. So
is Love to Ride, this is my first time hearing about Love to Ride. Is it solely for companies, or is it also for individuals or like church groups?
It's a great
or nonprofits?
Yes, it's a great question. So when we go into it, what we call a funded area. So say, for example, we'll take Stanislaus County. We set up a geofence there, and the geofence captures all the businesses and all the people that register on Love to Ride. At that point, anybody can set up an organization. So that could be a church, that could be a school. You can also set up groups. So for example, if you do work for a church or work with a church, and the church, St. Paul's, for example, has a profile page, they can organize, a women's writing group as a club within that. So you can be really creative. The platform is incredibly flexible. Workplaces could set up the Sunday ride group, or, the weekend or the weekday coffee group, or whatever it might be, to help continue to engage people at within the organizations to continue to ride. So there are lots of opportunities just like that.
So just as long, you can do it as an organization, but could you also sign up as an individual?
Oh, yes. Yeah. 100%. You don't have to be working in order to participate. In fact, we have a category that's retired and just simply unemployed. So yeah, this is not meant to be exclusive to businesses. This is inclusive of everyone that represents a community. That's a big E for everyone.
And the other question I had is, what does the integration look like for Santa Cruz and Ride to Share? Do you have to log information for both, or do they cross over?
They cross over. The one thing that is, you do have to sign up independently for Love to Ride, and I'll tell you why it's important. Because it's important to be counted. It's important for us to understand who you are as an individual and to get those demographic contours so that we can make sure that we are creating the kind of infrastructure that serves everyone. And once you've done that, your rides automatically get fed up into the Agile Mile platform. So you get credit for those rides on the incentive platform.
Are you directly connected to the school districts here in our county?
We do not have a direct relationship with them. If StanCog is interested in creating those relationships, we'll definitely chase them down. We do have the ability to host schools on the platform as long as the students are over 13. That said, we met with Safe Routes to Schools here in Washington, D.C., and next year we will be rolling out a fully implementable K-12 Safe Routes program on the Love to Ride platform.
I do a lot of work with county district office and the bigger school districts here in town directly. So it'd be fun to just be a promoting partner and introduction between the three of you or two of you.
That would be great. I would be happy to help them and talk to them about how to set up the school account. And it's a really useful tool. If you've got homerooms, you can do grade against grade. There's all kinds of really fun, cranky stuff you can do with those middle schoolers and high schoolers. So yeah, absolutely. I'd be happy to help get that coordinated.
Okay,
Yes, so.
Awesome. Any other thoughts to share, ideas or questions? Awesome. Well, again, thank you very much. That was great information, a different perspective, and love that you're in DC doing it. Thank you for
Awesome.
that.
Yeah.
Thank you guys all for coming in. Nice having some new faces in here, and in-person faces in here. And we're going to give you back about 20 minutes of your day then.
Thank you guys so much. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you.
You're
And
welcome.
email me. I'll be checking in to make sure you guys have a profile. So get after it.
Thank you. Take care.